Welcome back. Continuing with Matilda Seer, starting at chapter 31. Matilda and Kari sat in the dining hall in the back corner. Matilda had just finished telling Kari about the dream and the weird map. Kari sat still, not wanting to believe what she was hearing. Because if the dream and map were correct, they were on a completely different path from the others. I think you must have just been tired or something. Anyway, your dream couldn't have been like your visions, because Lainey wasn't in it. Look around. Lainey's nowhere to be seen. At that precise moment, the caretaker of the house strolled up to the table and said in an irritated voice, "That girl over there with the mouth says she's your friend. If she is, and I can't imagine why you'd want to be friends with the likes of her, don't think I'm going to feed that mouth breakfast for free. That'll be 5 neds extra." They both turned to see a beaming Lainey standing at the door to the dining hall, waving at them. Both of their mouths dropped open simultaneously. The caretaker took her 5 neds from Matilda and allowed for Lainey to sit down. "Wow, I never thought I was going to be allowed into this place," said Lainey, in her usual breathless eloquence. "You guys picked a doozy. It wasn't until I called her an old hag that she let me into this dining hall. I have no idea why that crazy woman calls it a hall. It can barely fit these 7 tiny tables." Lainey seemed oblivious to their absolute shock. When she finally stopped, Kari said, "Wait, rewind. How did you find us?" At this question, Lainey became even more ecstatic. "Well, I said a few random words and up popped this door and here I am. I had a feeling I could travel to people and not just to places, but I wasn't sure if it would really work, and boy am I glad it did. And before you ask, no, I can't travel to Titus. I already tried. Whew, there's no way I could have handled being with those guys for another day. Which brings me to a question I'm dying to ask you, Matilda. Did you hear from Ethan yesterday?" Matilda's palms began to sweat, but she knew she needed to be honest. "No." Lainey jumped up out of her chair. I knew it, the lying jerk. He made me feel like an evil witch all day yesterday when he knew he was being a big fat liar." Now Matilda really felt horrible. Lainey went on. "Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't have the nerve to. We ended up not waiting and going down to the left tunnel without you. Which way did you guys go? Because I don't remember passing any place like this." Kari didn't take her eyes off Matilda while she answered Lainey. "We didn't go to the left. We went to the right. But you should have known that because Matilda told Ethan, right?" Matilda sunk down in her chair and hung her head, not looking at the others. "I didn't exactly talk to him." Now Kari stood up. "You too? I had a feeling, but I wanted to trust you. How are we supposed to trust you if you can't tell us the truth? I guess I've only known you for a few days, but I didn't take you for a liar." Just then, Kane came rushing up to the table. "You guys will never believe what I just did." Kane seemed oblivious to the palpable tension in the air. The others ignored him as if he hadn't said anything at all. "I didn't ask you guys to come with me," Matilda replied, lifting her head. "I was happy to stay by myself." Kari and Lanny sat back down. Then the stern whisper, Kari said, "Oh, no, you don't. You don't get to blame this on us. Whether you like it or not, we're all stuck together. So get over yourself and learn how to deal. Now, just so we're clear, you and Ethan never said a word to each other yesterday." This is where Kane's ears finally became tuned in to what was being said. "You lied to us?" Looking at Kane's shocked face, for some reason Matilda felt worse than she had expected up until that point. "Yes, I lied. Apparently, so did Ethan. And because I never heard from him either, I was going to tell him where we were as soon as he talked to me first. He was horrible yesterday, and for no reason. I didn't want to be the first one to say something. I was hoping he would." Kari turned to Kane and said, "You missed the best part. Ethan and the others went down the left tunnel, while we went down the right." Kane pulled up a chair from an empty table. "If he had the map, then that means we're the ones heading in the wrong direction. Great. Suddenly, he turned to Lainey and said, "Wait, how'd you get here?" Curry took the next few minutes to update them on Matilda's dream and the map. After she was done, there was complete silence while they all mulled it over. Kane said, "So we're going the wrong way, but it's okay because it's actually the right way. None of this makes sense. We're supposed to go to Raven's Head, not some town called Watson's George with a strange man." Still feeling miserable, Matilda replied, "I know it doesn't make sense. I'm as confused as anyone. But in all fairness, my visions never said to go to Raven's Head. We got that from the note we found. And who knows who actually wrote that?" "You need to talk to him. And I mean right now," Kari insisted. Matilda knew she was right, though she dreaded it. "What do you want me to say?" Still looking aloof, Kane said, "Tell him Lainey's here and that we went down the other tunnel, but that you had a dream telling us to go somewhere else." "Okay, but what's he supposed to do? Does he go on without us, or are we supposed to wait here another whole day for him to catch up?" Lainey had another suggestion. "Or I could go get them and bring them here, but there's no way I'm going alone. You would think Randall would be my biggest problem, but I'm telling you, Carter is a jerk. There's something about him I don't trust, and he and Ethan are buddies now. I definitely need backup if I'm going back for them." Matilda agreed to give the message to Ethan and hoped that he would be civil. Just before she closed her eyes to concentrate, Kane put his hand on her arm. "Please don't lie again about talking to him. We really trusted you." "I promise not to lie to you guys again, if you can believe a liar." She smiled and then closed her eyes, hoping they would forgive her. Chapter 32. According to the map, the boys were just over halfway to the outskirts of Raven's Head. It would take them the rest of the day to travel there. Ethan thought they should find a place to sleep that night, giving them ample time to figure out how they were going to locate the caretakers and the watchers. Carter was off on a bathroom break, and Randall was sitting down resting on a bench when Ethan heard Matilda's voice. It was so unexpected that Ethan nearly fell off the bench. "Ethan, it's me. I just wanted to let you know that Lainey is here. There's something else I have to tell you. But before I do, could you let me know that you can hear me?" Matilda interjected. Ethan paused. "Yeah, I can hear you." She went on to tell them everything that happened in the tunnel, the dream, how they met up with Lainey, and what the others thought they should do. Then she asked what he wanted to do. It was a lot of information for him to process. He couldn't believe they were in completely different locations. "I don't know how I feel about leaving you when we're so close to Raven's Head." Ethan heard Carter's voice shouting something, so he asked Matilda to hold on while he talked to the others. "You'll never believe what I just did in the bathroom, guys. Check this out." They watched as Carter turned around and held out his hand. There was a guy about 10 feet in front of him walking away with a backpack on. Attached to the side of the backpack was a soda. They marveled as they watched the soda pull away from the backpack and fly into Carter's hands. Immediately smiled, popped open the can and began to drink. "Cool, huh? I did the same thing with the paper towels in the bathroom." Randall and Ethan stared at him in alarm. "What?" said Carter, bemused by their stares. "I thought you guys would be stoked." "We would have been about the paper towels," Ethan said, "but stealing another guy's soda doesn't get me going." The last thing Ethan needed was to get in trouble for stealing. Carter kept drinking, still grinning at his accomplishments. Ethan shrugged it off and proceeded to tell Carter and Randall about his conversation with Matilda. When he was finished, he asked them what they wanted to do. "We don't need them," came Carter's immediate reply. "We're almost there. Why would we want to go and follow them?" Randall, however, looked unsure. "I don't know. Her visions have been pretty much dead on so far. Maybe we should trust them." "Her vision is what led us to Raven's Head in the first place, remember?" Carter said. "She had that vision of the letter that told us about this place. I say we stick with what we're doing." Ethan had to admit Carter had a point. He felt torn, though. He wanted to be with the others, but they had come all this way, and it seemed stupid just to change plans all of a sudden. "Matilda, we're going on to Raven's Head. Your vision led us there, too. You go your way, and we'll check out this end. Keep in touch, though." Matilda's heart sank. She knew they should stick together. Akira told me to make sure we stick together. She said not to separate. Are you sure? The reply that she heard next made her stomach drop. You should have thought about that yesterday before you took off. There was a brief pause. Just follow your path and we'll follow ours. Who knows? Maybe it was supposed to be like this. Matilda couldn't help but wonder at his last statement. Were they making a big mistake being separated, or was it supposed to be like this? After all, her leaving the group actually led her down this tunnel. A tunnel where she was being drawn to a mysterious hooded man. Chapter 33. Deep in the recess of the tunnels of Nome sat a very curious slate rat. He didn't care much for the tunnels. He far preferred the forest of turning, but he didn't have a choice in the matter. He had been banished to the tunnels by the tree wizards for stealing more than his allotted produce and for gambling, which he thought was completely unfair. He was, after all, a growing rat and needed constant nourishment and entertainment. Unfortunately for him, the tree wizards didn't share his point of view. Now he was forced to spend his days foraging for scraps, and this made him seethe with injustice. Today, however, the rat began to think his luck might finally be changing. He had just come from the bathroom trash, where people would dump things before using the facilities. He had managed to retrieve a half-eaten apple and gone back to his little crack in the wall when his eyes did a double take. There stood a teenage boy looking all too cocky, bragging to his friends, while he lifted his hands and motioned something ahead of him. It took only a few seconds for the rat to see what he was doing. This boy had managed to summon a soft drink out of another person's backpack straight into his hands. Not everyone could do that kind of magic. Besides, he contemplated, it's not every day you see magic out in the open like that. Most people around the realm know better. Then came another revelation. The boy was surprised at what he could do. Like magic was unfamiliar to him. The slate rat wondered if this meant what he thought it did. Was it possible, after 16 years, if the boy was who he thought he was, then this meant he would no longer be scrounging for food. The slate rat threw down the half-chewed rotten apple, suddenly disgusted with it. He took off down a secret passage through a tunnel walls with renewed vigor. He had a message to deliver, and if he ran fast enough through, he could be in Raven's Head by sundown. Yes, he thought, my luck is definitely changing. Chapter 34. This is ridiculous. You've got to stop them, cried Carrie. She looked at the others for support. I tried, Matilda said. I swear I did, but he thinks that we're meant to go both places. He said that my first vision led us to Raven's Head, and since they're almost there, it doesn't feel right for him to turn back. Well, if you can't stop them, Lainey and I will. Kari got up and grabbed Lainey's arm. Let's go. This is getting out of control, and somebody's got to do something about it. Kari, sit down, Kane said. Let's just talk about this for a minute before you do something rash. Kari gave in and sat back down. Has everyone around me completely lost their minds? People keep disappearing, and we're in a place that we know nothing about. We need to be together. I know, but we can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, said Matilda. I think he's still mad at me. He said I should have thought about sticking together before I ran off. At least we promised to keep in touch. Or more like, he told me to keep in touch. I'll keep trying. In the meantime, we need to leave. In this vision, we were the ones going towards Watson's George. Unfortunately, the others weren't in it. Let's just hope this whole thing works out. Reluctantly, Kari relented. She didn't want to, but even when Lainey agreed and Kane and Matilda agreed with Kane and Matilda, she let it go. They decided to walk out in the open air and not in the tunnels. Lainey had offered just to take them there, but Matilda reiterated that her vision showed them walking and that there had to be a reason for it. On the map, it didn't look like it would take more than half a day to get to Watson's George, which would mean they would arrive there before midday. They had no idea what awaited them there, but surely it couldn't be as bad as what awaited the others. As Ethan, Carter, and Randall passed the border into the land of twisting shades, Randall let out a sigh of relief. This place seems harmless enough. When you guys said we should leave the tunnels and walk on land the rest of the way, I thought you were crazy. The town sounded like one of those places where people's shadows come alive and attack you from behind. Sorry, I watch a lot of horror movies. The scenery was bushy, but not like that of the forest. There were lots of small paths surrounded by waist-high flowering bushes. None of the paths were straight, which confused them. The way forward was unclear until they saw a sign that said the town center was 3 kilometers ahead with an arrow pointing in the appropriate direction. If the rest of the way is like this, I hope these signs are everywhere, said Ethan. How can anyone get around in this place? What I want to know is, why is this place called Twisting Shades when there isn't a single tree tall enough to create any? Asked Randall. You'd have to sit down if you wanted some shade. He reached out to pick a flower from a nearby bush out of boredom, but as he went to snap it off, he let out a cry. It bit me. That thing bit me. Carter looked over at him as though he were crazy. You don't believe me? Asked Randall. I dare you to pick one of those flowers. Carter ignored him. Too scared, huh? I thought you were a tough guy. Carter raised his eyebrow in a defiant motion and began to pick off a flower from the nearest bush. Sure enough, before he could, the bright purple flower squeezed its petals shut over his finger and with surprising force bit him. What kind of place is this? Just don't touch anything and we'll be fine, said Ethan, looking warily at the bushes that surrounded them. What if they start attacking us? Said Randall nervously. They're everywhere. He moved to the middle of the path, making sure he was at least an arm's length away from them. They didn't bite until you tried to hurt them first, Ethan pointed out. Just stay away, and I'm sure we'll be fine. Ethan sounded unconvinced. Shortly, a town became visible not too far in front of them. Walking single file in the center of the pathway, they headed towards the buildings. No one dared to get close to the biting bushes. To their relief, there were signs the entire way. Without them, they would never have found the town, as pathways kept veering off in different directions. They must have switched paths over a dozen times. The town looked old, with weathered, pastel-colored buildings. The paint was plainly chipping away, but they were happy to be amongst people on the paved roads and on paved roads. On the left-hand side, the street was a row of shops. On the right side of the street was a line of motorized scooters in different bright primary colors. These were the first vehicle-like things that they had come across in the inner realm. Noticing them, Carter nudged Ethan's arm. Hey, check out those scooter bikes. Wish we had one of them suckers. Ethan turned to where Carter was pointing and said, Yeah, saw them. It's kind of weird that there are so many of them sitting there, but none of them are on the road. Randall nodded. If I had one of those, I'd be all over the place. Just then, they saw a man in a suit who looked to be in his mid-40s go up to a green bike and hop on. They watched as he started the scooter up and moved it forward. Instead of traveling on the road, however, it advanced into the air about 100 feet and then disappeared. Okay, now I really want one, Randall said. Ethan's stomach made a resounding noise of protest. As cool as that is, some food would be even better right now. They turned their attention to the shops and headed towards a sandwich place. Standing in front of the store was a man wearing an oversized brown sweatshirt and a large straw hat that shielded his face. They paid him no attention until he addressed them. Where are you boys off to? They stopped and turned towards him. Carter immediately grew suspicious. What's it to you? The man shrugged. Just looking for extra pair of hands down at the old schoolhouse. We're running behind schedule and want to finish on time, that's all. Ethan was beginning to read Carter a little better, and right now he looked like he was about to do something stupid. Sorry, Ethan said. We need to get back to our parents. Good luck with the schoolhouse, though. Ethan dragged Carter away into the store. The entire time, Carter stared down the man. Let's just grab some food and find somewhere quiet to eat. When they came out a few minutes later, food in hand, the man was nowhere to be seen. While they ate at the small local park a block up, they pulled out the map and noticed that the border wasn't far at all. They had traveled faster than any of them had anticipated. Ethan and Carter voted to head off after eating. Randall wanted to take a break. An hour later, they were back on the road, with the reluctant Randall lagging behind. In his mind, he imagined Carter being bitten by the flower bush over and over again. As Randall pictured him whining in pain, his spirits began to rise. Matilda Seer.